How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Norm, Pastor D. How you doing?
I'm good.
Brian, Brendan, good to see you.
Hi, Pastor. How you doing?
Three-part question. I'll hang up and listen for your answer. I think they're all very important questions. One, back to Julius's point with respect to the budgeting of the Public Defender's Office, I would be interested in knowing how it stacks up against the budgeting of the prosecutor's office in terms of equipment, in terms of your ability to access data and all of the other things that money does. How does the Public Defender's Office stack up against the prosecutor's office financially? Number two, the state the prosecutor's office rendered a decision or opinion to the Board of Elections with respect to my run for mayor. Now, I'm wondering if indeed the prosecutor's office or the state's attorney, as the state's attorney, rendered an opinion, and it was it was binding by the Board of Elections, would the Public Defender's Office then, or would I have a right to have the Public Defender's Office intervene or render an opinion in that connection? Finally, this bail suggestion by our Attorney General, I'm wondering about the constitutionality and does it undermine the presumption of innocence? I'll hang up and listen.
Let me ask you a question. Your last question, could you explain that more for the viewers? Because you may you guys know, but people need to know what you're talking about. Answer that last question again.
Joe Biden, the Attorney General, has requested that the bail, that the state be empowered or the judges be empowered to jack the bail up, Norm, or make the bail more than it currently is in order to keep potential criminal defendants off the street. Now, my problem is there's a presumption of innocence. This is a person that has not been convicted. So how do you do that? How do you jack somebody's bail up higher than it's already mandated for without concluding that they're guilty prior to a trial?
Okay, thank you. Good point.
Okay, first question, Pastor D, in terms of funding versus the Attorney General's office and whether we have the similar type of data access and so forth. Our lawyers are paid exactly the same as the Attorney Generals. We have salary parity, which is one of the hallmarks that the American Bar Association suggests for an indigent defense system, that the lawyers on the defense side are paid equally to as the lawyers on the prosecution side. Their office has many more lawyers because they also do the civil cases and we do only the criminal cases. But as for technology, we have a system that we have built over the years that Larry Sullivan had built by in-house employees that is really the envy of public defender systems everywhere, and is also, the Attorney General's office comes down to look at us and learn how we manage our information. We do it better because we have a built-in system that I referenced before when I talk about our people have to enter their contacts with their clients in our database. So we can run all kinds of reports depending on what kind of case it is, what county it's in. We have a very, very good system. So the reality is, technologically, in terms of generating data and running reports to prove or disprove certain things, my view is our technology is superior to the Attorney General's. So I don't feel we're at any disadvantage in terms of the technology we have versus the technology the prosecutors have. In terms of rendering an opinion for you, Pastor D, on whether or not your previous record could prohibit you from running for mayor, we really can't do that by law. Our practice is limited to one thing, and that is defending people who are charged with crimes. If people don't have money to hire a lawyer and they're charged with crimes, we defend them. That's all we do. We don't defend people in custody battles. We don't defend them in child support. We don't defend them in any kind of civil stuff. So our practice is limited only to defending a person who's charged with a crime. Those other things are civil stuff, and by law, we're not permitted to do that. And as for the bail, the supposed bail reforms, I share your concerns 100%. And it's interesting what I saw in the paper a couple weeks ago when the News Journal reported about the Attorney General's proposals. If I read it correctly, I saw that Attorney General Biden said, well, we can do these things already, but we just want to do them in this way. Well, it makes little sense to me to be passing legislation to try to accomplish something you're already capable of doing. We don't need more laws. We need to use the laws we have to do the job properly. And in my view, and it's unquestioned, every person charged with a crime has a right to reasonable bail. And the only time they don't have a right to a reasonable bail is if they're charged with a capital murder case. And that right ought to be preserved in our Constitution. And these presumptions that the person's going to commit a crime, in my view, they're unconstitutional because you have a right to bail that's reasonable.
Okay, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Norman. I have two questions for Mr. O'Neill, and I always enjoy listening to Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah.
The first question is this: when does the obligation of your office terminate to your client?
Really, after the last appellate decision has been reached. And by that I mean after a trial, if the person is convicted and sentenced, and then we appeal after the last appellate decision has been made final. And really when the case is over. So we typically don't have, in our practice, we typically don't go back and move for reductions of sentence. We do in some occasions, but typically when the last appellate decision has been reached and is final, that ends our representation.
So do you automatically have a discussion with your client regarding appeal?
We should. If the client, if a client goes to trial, is convicted and then sentenced, yes, we do have a discussion immediately after the sentencing, and we're required to file a notice of appeal within a prescribed time after sentencing, 30 days.
So that's your office's protocol?
Yes.
Okay, the second question is this. We mentioned plea bargaining within a discussion. If a client takes a plea bargain, does that automatically void the client of a chance of appeal?
Yes, in Delaware,
Norman, I'll hang up and listen to the discussion.
First of all, those were some very good questions.
Excellent
we got some good questions.
Excellent.
Good caller. Go ahead.
To answer your question, yes. Under Delaware law, if you enter a plea of guilty, you do not have a right to an appeal unless the judge imposes a sentence that is illegal. But when the person enters a plea, there's a question and answer session with the judge called the colloquy. And during that colloquy, the client is told by the judge that he is waiving his right to appeal, and there won't be any appeal unless the judge then turns around and imposes a sentence that is in excess of the maximum.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Storm Herman. How you doing?
Hey, buddy.
Look, good show. Brendan, in reference to that system set up by Larry Sullivan years ago, I remember when Larry was working on that, going way back. But I remember calling you in reference to a situation I had, and as I talked with you in your office and gave you the name of the young man, before we got into the conversation, you had pulled it up on the screen on your computer and had started sharing some things with me that had come up on the screen about that individual I had called you up about, and Norman, that blew my mind.
Right.
But anyway.
I appreciate your backing me up, Herman. Thank you.
Yeah, you took your business. Hey, Storm, and the other thing for Pastor D, the statute states that a felon shall not be seated in the legislature. That's under the state constitution. A felon shall not be seated.
Oh, okay.
So that's something that has to be changed by 2 consecutive sessions of the Delaware General Assembly, which is very difficult to do before one in Pastor D's position would be allowed to run for public office. And lastly, to Brendan, I heard on the news this morning somewhere along the way where Maryland was the governor of Maryland was attempting and had, I think, half of his legislature ready to go for it, to abolish capital punishment, Storm, and in the state of Maryland. And the reason, Brendan, was that, if you're aware of this, because of the millions and millions of dollars, Storm, that they would save by just going to mandatory life sentences. And
Wow.
if Brent is aware of that, please kind of share for our viewers what that could do for Delaware.
Hey, Herman, before you hang up, hold for 1 second.
Uh-huh.
First of all, congratulations on your appointment. So that means you like in executive sessions with the WHA and all that now?
Well, yes. I was commissioner back in the ball game. I was there about 30 years ago, when your mother was around and all that, and was the president of Tenant Castle. But yeah, I'm back in as a commissioner of Wilmington House Authority.
And also one more point. I talked about this at the beginning, and how much I appreciated you and Kenyon and you guys coming on the show, and so
Right.
many people were talking about it afterwards. But you see what I was talking about when it comes to guys like Lenny Williams.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and that's why I was talking about the whole history.
Yes, and we completely forgot him. And somebody else mentioned about Henrietta Johnson.
But it's so important. I mean, not the point who we forgot about or who we talked about, but the importance of the discussion.
To do that kind of show.
Yeah.
And folks are asking that you do it again as soon as you possibly can, Norman.
Okay, thank you.
It was fantastic. Take care, Brendan.
Thank you, Herman.
So, did you want to answer this question? I don't know what this question was. I guess it was about the Maryland thing.
Yeah, the Maryland, that's a great development. We are presently working on a bill that is going to be soon introduced to the legislature to seek a ban on the death penalty in Delaware.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Death penalty.
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. You got the question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, let me ask a question. As they talk about breaking the law to the fact that the individual. Wait a minute, hold up. The individual. I want to know one question. When the police is overzealous about the fact of violating my rights on my property, but maybe this is not the time for me to be calling you about this. Do you have another number for me to call to ask you a question about it? Mm-hmm. Violating my rights to the fact of the county police have violated my rights straight up and down. I'm just asking.
You might want to call the county executive's office. 39.
No. They what's called me rolling me over. Rolling me over.
Who rolled you over?
The county police and the county representative is
Well,
rolling me over.
we're talking about the public defender's office. Do you have a question for
All right, that's what I'm saying. No, the question ain't got nothing to do with public defender. I didn't know because I just seen.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay then.
No problem.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Norm, Mouse, how you feel?
How you doing?
I'd like to talk to the director about, is there any way I can get numbers on how many black and Hispanic lawyers he got in his office, how many black and Hispanic secretaries, investigators, and account, what do he have in his office, minorities and blacks for the makeup of the state? Because when I heard seven black lawyers out of 75 lawyers, there's a problem with that, with the makeup of the state. And even in the VA's office, there's a problem with putting blacks and Hispanics and minorities in positions that we can't get. So some way, I like to look at his numbers.
Sure, I'm happy to share numbers.
Richard, first of all, I'm happy that you're now the president of NAACP to even ask questions like that, because now we finally got someone in the NAACP's office that's awake, because they've been sleeping for the last 10, 15 years. Thank you.
No, right. One of the biggest problems I had with when we talk to the state directors and secretaries and stuff, they can't find this, they can't find that, they can't get this black, they can't get this Spanish. I think those days are over with. I think we need the sheer power in the state, because the makeup of blacks is like 32% and about 18% with Spanish stuff. I may be wrong, but when you represent a lot of blacks and you only got 7 lawyers that's black, there's a big problem with that.
Well, I share your concern. I can tell you this, African Americans and minorities generally are way underrepresented in the Delaware bar. And we can't have a lawyer. A person has to first be a lawyer before he can be a public defender. And the percentage of African Americans and minorities in the Delaware bar is very, very low. And we've made a conscious effort to reach out.
But if we recruit around the black schools and stuff, Howard University, all the schools and stuff, I think we can get more black lawyers. I think that y'all will have a problem, even in the school system, even trying to reach the black schools and reach where the black lawyers and stuff is to try to bring them in.
Right.
I think we still got that good old boys concept, and we don't want to move away from it.
Well, I can tell you that I'm happy to speak to any qualified lawyer, whatever his or her race. And if the lawyer is qualified and committed to defending people charged with a crime, that person has a chance to work in our office.
You said he could call you and you
Yeah.
guys could meet. All right, thanks,
Right.
Rich. All right.
Okay.
I think the last time you called also, you said a lot of like some of the younger black lawyers are going into corporate law. Again, I mean, they're not really coming to the public defender's office.
One of the problems now is the cost of legal education is so much. Law school is really, really expensive. So new lawyers want to get out and make as much money as they can because they're in such debt. Routinely, we see kids coming out of law school with $100,000 in debt.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Stormin, White L. Davis.
Hey, how you doing, Dwight?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. On the question of the constitutional amendment for bail, I think that if Mr. Brendan O'Neill is his name,
Right.
if you can address the issue of how many people are presently in prison who are unable to make bail because they can't afford it, and the rate of the plea bargains, because you mentioned that they're already in jail. Now, if they're already in jail because they can't make nominal bails, does that have anything to do with the fact that of the rate of your plea bargains? I think you said, maybe you didn't say, that you resolve your cases at about 90% of your cases resolved or through plea bargains. Number one. And then just number two, can you really comment on why your public defender's office is not actively helping those in prison to get their bails reduced?
Well, first of all, the rate of plea bargaining is much more than 90%. It's about 98% across the board. So it's even higher than you believe. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is the incarceration rate for pretrial detainees in Delaware is about 22% of the people that are in jail are in there awaiting their trial. In other words, they were unable to make bail. They're awaiting a trial or a violation of probation hearing. And it's a very high rate for a state with our kind of a system, which is a unified system where both the pretrial detainees and the sentenced prisoners are held in the same facilities. So, and we routinely help people. We're there. Anybody who wants a bail hearing gets one, and we file bail hearings for people who are in, and it's ultimately a question of whether the judge is going to make a bail that they can set a bail that the person can make. And what happens, unfortunately, is, keeping a person in jail really puts that person at a disadvantage in defending his case. The reality is a person who's out can help his lawyer much more than a person who's in custody, because he can find people, he can show the lawyer things that he can't do. And also, there's a rule that they don't teach you in law school but kind of works in real life, and that is people who are out of jail tend to stay out of jail. People who are in jail tend to stay in jail.
Well, let me just end up on this point real quick, Norman, that it's not just the dollar amount of the bail, it's whether or not the bail is either a cash bail or secured bail or unsecured bail. I would like to see if there are any studies that really address that particular issue, because you'll find that a person may be arrested and given a $1 million unsecured bail, and a person might be arrested and given a $500 secured bail. The other person can just sign their name and get out, versus the other individual that doesn't even have $50 to post his own bail. Thank you, Norm.
Wow, good point. Good questions. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Norman, I just want him to mention what really goes on with plea bargaining, and especially for young parents out here who have their sons and they don't get it. Once you do a plea bargain, you're guilty, and for the rest of your life, that is going to follow you. In some states, you can never vote. You become a felon. So it's not as simple as just closing cases or somebody just wants to get out of jail. I don't think public defenders explain clearly enough. Instead of saying you can get 10 years or we can get out if you agree to 18 months, move to a 30-year-old mother with a 17-year-old kid. It's like, oh God, let me get my kid out. The reality is that sentence could be a life sentence. And you might have done better doing your time and, everything that goes with it and getting out and being able to do something else. But I think plea bargaining is a very serious situation and needs to be dealt with in the reality, not just how good it sounds.
That's a very good question. I didn't realize 98%. I didn't know it was that high.
That's a very good point. And ma'am, your point's a very good one.
Thank you for the call.
And it's really important for our lawyers and for all lawyers to make sure that the person who makes the decision, who is the client, is fully informed, that they understand what the benefits are, but they also understand what the risks and the downsides are to taking a plea. And that's the job of our lawyer in every case. And if our lawyers aren't doing it, we want to know about it.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, this is Jerome. My question is for your guest. If a person is in another state and they have a murder case, is there any kind of way they can be transferred back to Delaware so they can be trialed here?
Well, is the murder alleged to have taken place in Delaware?
No, the person is from here. I think Norman is a Kappa friend.
Gregory,
Yeah, and I was wondering if he could be transferred back here so he can get a better trial.
The answer is no. He's alleged to have committed a crime in the state of Florida or wherever, and the Florida authorities will prosecute him in a Florida court. Really, Delaware has nothing to do with the crime. If they brought the crime here, we'd say, hey, this case has to be dismissed. There's no jurisdiction. Delaware doesn't have jurisdiction over a crime committed beyond its borders.
So fighting for this person to be transferred from this particular facility back to Wilmington is no use of fighting for him?
Well, not if he's not already been sentenced. There are some programs where they have prisoner exchanges. If he's already been convicted, been sentenced to prison, and is serving time, under very limited circumstances, sometimes he can get back to Delaware, as often, or as also as a person who's serving time in Delaware may get transferred to another state. But that's very rare. But in terms of where the case is actually prosecuted and presented to a jury, that's going to happen in the state where it allegedly took place, not in any other state.
Hey, also, could you do me a favor? Could you call my office, because I lost all of his information.
Okay, I will, because he wants to talk. He needs to be. He wants to talk to you.
Yeah, and plus I changed my number so he don't have it. So
okay, where are you located?
655.
Okay.
8250.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know the guy. Okay. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I have a question there. How you doing, Norm?
How you doing?
I was always told that a public defender always got $50 for each plea bargain that a client takes. Is that true or not?
Not true at all. No basis whatsoever.
Okay. So he's basically saying you guys, for every plea bargain they're getting paid off.
And people believe that. And one of our jobs as lawyers is to let the person know that, hey, we're defending you. We're going to do the best we can for you, and we're not anybody's dump truck, and we're not being paid for pleading you.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I had a question. Mine's involving a custody order. I want to know how you can be considered an unfit parent but have custody of your child, your other child, and he's like honor roll student, everything, but the court's saying that you're an unfit parent won't give you custody of your other child.
Yeah, I really can't answer that, ma'am. It's out of our league. I'm assuming that neither you nor the other person involved in this custody battle are presently charged with crimes. So we really can't give you any advice on that stuff. It's out of our league.
All right, thank you. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Norm, how you doing?
How you doing?
Okay, I got a question for your guest.
Okay.
Okay, now he's a state-paid public defender, right? The state pays him.
Right.
Okay, so if I'm in court and the judge says, well, you can't afford, I'm going to give you a public defender.
Right.
Now, how can he work for me and the judge too?
I don't work for the judge. I don't get any funding from the judge.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I mean, how can I get the proper representation by you being a state worker?
Well, there's a certain level of trust that you're going to have, and you know what I think, ma'am? When you deal with our lawyer, you will find that the lawyer is doing the best he or she can to defend you within everything that is ethically and legally permitted. And if they're not, you can feel free to call me. I mean, I understand there's an inherent...
Yeah, you know, I never even thought of that. So what are you saying is he's double dipping? It's like double dipping almost?
Well, no, I'm being paid by the system. How can I help you fight the system if I'm part of the system? Is the question, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's right.
Yeah, well, that's a fair question.
Okay.
You know, you're entitled to feel that way.
Okay.
But I'll bet you, after you're dealing with our lawyers and our lawyers are defending you, you'll think differently. And all we ask you is to keep an open mind. And if you think you're being, treated unfairly because we're part of the system, you let us know. But give us a chance. That's all we're asking, because I think you'll find that that's not the case.
Thank you.
Did you understand my point?
I understand your point.
Okay.
I don't agree with it. I understand it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought that I never thought about it like that.
Oh, we get it all the time. Yeah, people question us, and you know what I tell them? Well, number one, you can hire any lawyer you choose. If you got the money, you can hire you can get the dream team back in here and they can defend you. But until that happens, I'm the only person defending you. Right. So you give me a shot and we'll do the best we can.
Let me ask you another question. I'm probably not done with this. You're very good. I mean, you really answered all the questions and straightforward. I like that when you get guests, we're engaging. Have you ever thought about getting into politics?
No, thank you.
I mean, seriously.
No, I don't have any interest.
I don't have any
interest. No.
Okay.
I'm running from things, not for things.
Yeah. Had folks ever approached you about that?
Only casually. I don't have the interest. You know, my brother-in-law is our congressman. I see, what a personal sacrifice that is, and I'm unwilling to make it.
Okay. Good luck to your son. I hope.
Thanks.
He plays for Salesianums.
He does. Big game Tuesday night. Should be fun.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show. And again, this show was dedicated to our good friend who passed on, I'll call him Dr. Judge Leonard Williams. We certainly send our condolences out to him and his family. Also, on a couple of notes, Penny Marshew, who was a public defender for the federal court system, she was supposed to come on the night, but my scheduling was kind of crazy. So she has the Harriet Tubman Walk or Run. So I hope folks participate into that. I think that's tomorrow. Also, this Kinder Morgan stuff in the Port of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, keep in touch with this, keep abreast of this. That is great coming to a head, in my opinion. My humble opinion. I think that there's going to be some kind of deal struck. I have no idea about it. I know Julius and those guys are going to be coming on here on the 17th of this month, because I'm going to be out of town and talk about it even more. So I hope you stay on top of that. Again, happy birthday to Councilwoman Hanifa Shabazz. And also, Wayne Jefferson, you don't have to go get coffee and donuts tomorrow. Because the boss is not going to send you to Dunkin' Donuts. Is that right, boss?
Never have, never will.
Thank you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, man, I hope y'all enjoyed the show, man. Good job, man.
All right, thank you.
I'm out of here.
In Bancroft and Stubbs and Pulaski and et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of those expulsions were in fact required the contact of law enforcement. So where law enforcement is involved, then it creates a record for the elementary school child. So a lot of the parents don't realize that this is not private information, that your child as young as 7 or 8 could very well have a criminal history. So this criminal history follows them throughout their entire life. And so what happens is